Can I get a warm applause for Calvin?
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Morning.
You know, I wasn't expecting such good energy at not even 9 o'clock in the morning yet. It's lunchtime, yes. So it's November. It's the month of gratitude. It's 2018 is coming to a close now, isn't it? I'm not a realtor myself. I'm a business coach, and if you look at my face, that would mislead you because my face would tell you that I'm quite young. Actually, I'm 57. I'm just kidding. I'm 35, but if I smile, I still look 24. But so I'm a business coach, and when I get in front of groups, people will look at me and say, "You're really young. What the heck do you know?" Well, I've been in business. I've been coaching for 13 years now. 7 of those years were for Tony Robbins. And I'm not here to say I know anything more than any of you. I've just had the chance to work with a lot of people on their successes. Tripling, sometimes quadrupling their income, people that are financial advisors, realtors, real estate investors, some corporate executives. What I'd like to do with you all today is not give you a rah-rah speech. Is that okay? Yes. Right? You can go to YouTube for that. We'll try to have fun though. Is that okay? Yes. Yes. All right. Hopefully you see this sheet in front of you, or hopefully you have gotten this sheet. Does anyone not have this? Hand up, please. Thank you so much, by the way. Please give her a round of applause. We got a hand back there also. So I created this sheet for you guys fresh this morning. Please don't laugh at me for my handwriting. Hopefully you can read it. This is a tool, okay? When I work with people one-on-one, and it's for action. It's to get results in the end. And so this is an actual coaching session, or one of the coaching sessions that I'll do with people, because all of you in here, I imagine, have some big goals that you want to achieve. Is that right?
Yes.
Right? Who's looking forward to a mediocre 2019?
No.
Nobody. Right? So I'm going to walk you through this. I don't think we're going to have enough time for everyone to fill this out today. In fact, what I'm going to encourage is that you find a buddy in here who has been through this session today. Or maybe you approach one of your business partners outside and say, "Hey, let's sit down and let's talk about these things here today." I find that goal planning and strategizing happens best when it's not just you by yourself, because you can ask someone to challenge you. You can have someone there to ask you questions and help you clarify things if it's not clear to them. If it's not clear to them, it's probably not going to be clear to you 2 weeks later when you look at the piece of paper again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So I'm going to describe this to you first. If you look at this page right here, thank you very much. If we flip it over to the front page, okay, you'll see the title of today is Loving Your Business. Originally, I wanted to come and talk to you guys about love. No, I did. Originally, I wanted to come in and talk about how do you show love to your clients? How do you show love to your business? And I figured maybe that's a longer session because it's kind of a more intimate talk, right? But you can really love your business if your business is loving you back, right? If it's giving you the results that you really want. Imagine this time next year, it's November again, and you're reflecting on 2019. And you're like, "Man, this business loves me." And I want you to just imagine what needs to happen in your business in order for you to feel like your business really loves you. There's a certain level of income, I'm sure, that you want to make. Maybe a number of transactions. Maybe there's a certain section of the market that you want to get into. Right now you're working in this part of the market. You want to move into a higher end part of the market, maybe. Right? Maybe you want to have a more expansive network. Perhaps you want to do all those things, but also be able to work hours that are a little more reasonable. Your kids are getting older. You want to take them to soccer. You want to spend more time with them. There's a way for your business to be, for you to really love it, because you feel like it's loving you. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So if you look at this page right here, you'll see that I have an ascending order of difficulty here for how you can set your goals. Okay? We can shoot for the moon and say, "Here's what's possible, I want everything." That's probably on the higher end of difficulty. Right? And so I have that part. Let's write out, what is your dream right here? If anything could happen, if it was possible, What would you want to see? And I think it's important to just open up the lid for what's possible here. So later on, I'm going to ask you to fill this up. Now, I'm just narrating this for you first, right? Somewhere toward the bottom is something that's more realistic. Now, if I could ask you all, make a sound that feels real, make a sound that characterizes what it feels like to you for you to achieve a realistic goal, what does that sound like? Yeah, kind of like that. Yay. All right, it was realistic, cool. It's kind of boring. But it's practical, right? Your feet are on the ground, it's predictable. Later on, I'm going to ask you to fill this out for yourself. Okay, what's more realistic? That is the dream. If I could achieve anything, that's what I want to achieve. Here's what's realistic that I know I can achieve. This is the zone of no disappointment, hopefully. Right? Somewhere in the middle is the realistic dream. And that's what I want to encourage you to focus on. What is my realistic dream here? Okay, if I could have everything, that's what it would be. But by the end of 2019, what do I think is really possible? And I have two questions written inside that section right there. First of all, is it exciting? If it's not exciting, it's probably not going to get me out of bed. If it's not exciting, when I talk to people, my energy probably won't fully come out in a way where they feel like, God, this person's passionate about stuff. This person has energy to get the job done for me. I like working with this person. Our goals and our reasons for doing what we do needs to be exciting. Everyone agree?
Yes.
Right? So we want to figure out what are these goals that are exciting. Here's a second question to that. Is it winnable? I came on the stage earlier and said, I'm not going to give you a bunch of rah-rah. Right? And so I'm not going to encourage you to give yourself a bunch of rah-rah either. Here's everything that I can achieve. We want to ask, is it winnable? Sometimes the value of asking that question, is it winnable, is that people realize, okay, that's really exciting, but then if I commit to that, I'm going to be disappointed down the line. Ask, is it winnable? Because on the other side, here's this. If it's exciting to you and you ask, is it winnable, and you say, I think so, how does that feel?
Weak.
Say that again?
I said weak.
Weak. If it's winnable, it feels weak to you. You may have misheard me. If it's exciting to you, but it feels winnable, then it's like, what I find is that clients say to themselves, okay, well, let's really play. Let's really get into this game, right? That's why we want to find this sweet spot right here, because when it's exciting to you and it's challenging to you, you'll really go for it. You'll really play at your best if you know that it's also winnable. If it feels like it's not winnable to you, there's a part of you that says, okay, let's see, it's exciting, and then when the excitement fades, you're going to realize, well, I didn't really believe in that goal anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important that on one hand it's exciting, and on the other side it's winnable. So, you know what? Let's start doing this process first, and then I'm going to narrate the back end. The back end is something that I'm going to ask you to fill out after this session today, and then it's something that you can work on for the rest of this year. Okay? And so, what time do I have to, by the way, Joey? 9:15, 9:20. All right, so we have 15 minutes in here. Do you have your pens in here, everybody?
Yes.
Who's better talking things out loud? Raise your hand.
You.
Some people are better at talking things out loud. Everyone else in here, you're better at writing things down for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone that's better at talking out loud, please raise your hand. Those two, maybe you guys can talk with each other and have the discussion and say, hey, what's the dream for me? Okay, but what's realistic? And then when you talk about what's the realistic dream that you want to achieve in the next year, you can check in with yourself to say, George, I'm going to pretend your name is George. George, is this exciting to you? George, is this winnable? And what we're looking for is yes and yes. Okay? And so I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes just because we're short on time. If this is not enough time for you, but you start getting into it, please continue after this session. That's exactly why I created this for you this morning. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes now. You two can have that conversation for yourself and start honing in on what is that realistic dream for you. Any questions so far? Going once. Okay, go ahead. 5 minutes starts now. I'll play some writing music. reception. One minute has gone by now. So start to think about, what is a dream for you? When you came into this business, you had a vision. You said, I can do this. What did you picture? Maybe think about other agents that you've seen along the way that you were really impressed by. Maybe they have a lifestyle you want. Maybe they're just hitting the numbers that you want to hit. But what is that for you now, 2019? Kind of a hip hop person, so this is some lo-fi hip hop for you all. And then as you start to narrow in on, hey, what is it that I want to achieve in 2019? Check in with yourself. Does this challenge me? Would I be proud of myself for achieving this? Or does it feel kind of, Does anyone need a little more time? Just checking in. So everyone's done. You guys are good. Awesome. Okay, so now that you have what is your realistic dream right here, okay, just checking with yourself. Is it exciting to me, right? And is it winnable? Do I have to stretch to achieve this? But if I stretch and I give it what I got, is it winnable? Does everyone have their realistic dream identified for themselves? Anyone care to share? Realistic dream, though. Would anyone like to share? I mean, you guys were like so extroverted a while ago. I love it. Okay, but is it winnable?
Probably not.
Probably not. So here's where we're going to talk about the next part. So thank you for sharing that. My dream is not realistic. Beautiful. Okay. Is it winnable? Probably not. It could. There's varying degrees of winnability, and there are things that we can do to make our dreams more winnable. If we flip over to the next slide, please. We'll see at the top of the page. It says assets. Okay. The idea here is that we want to be really clear. What are the assets that we're working with? Because you can't achieve your goals without having the right assets. If we look at the highest echelons of business, the highest echelons of sports, what I found is that the level of drive, the level of competition in these people, they're very similar. There's maybe some degree of variance, but most of the people at the very top, they're all very hungry. They're all very hardworking. They all have very high levels of skill. But what tends to differentiate them is, do they have the assets? Do they have the resources? Do they have the support that they need in order to get the job done properly? Right? So when I say assets, what I'm referring to, there are hard assets and there are soft assets. Right? And you want to reflect on, what are the assets that I already have? What talents do I have? What skills do I have? Who do I know? What centers of influence do I have? What resources are out there? The West San Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors is one hub of information. What other pieces of knowledge do I need? Do I need a marketing team? Is it finally time for me to hire an assistant, for example? What skills do I need? What skills do I need to develop? Do I need to develop the ability to have difficult conversations more readily, more often? Do I need to have the skill, right, to ask for referrals more? Do I even have a plan on how do I ask for referrals, or am I winging it? Is it time for me to really develop that ability, that script? This is how I consistently ask for referrals. I'll tell you a quick story. Okay? I have a client that is a realtor. He was a realtor. He now has a construction company. He's still a realtor, but he has a team now. He's an investor, and also he has a property management company. So at this point, he's recession-proof as far as real estate is concerned. When I was working with him, still beginning in our second year, he said, Calvin, I want to get out of this market in the Inland Empire. It's great, it's where, he's Mexican, right? And he's like, a lot of my people are here. This is where I've really built my empire. But at the same time, when the recession hits, this is one of the first areas to go down. He's like, I want to get into a better position for myself and my family. Okay, great. We said his realistic dream, it was a stretch. Was it gonna challenge him? Heck yeah. He said, I wanted to go into Beverly Hills. That's where I want to work. That's where I want to have my reputation. And we started to say, okay, well, is it realistic? He said, no. Here's my challenge, Calvin, because when I start knocking on doors over there, when I start talking to people over there, they're gonna see a short, fat, bald Mexican guy. Who in Beverly Hills is gonna wanna work with a short, fat, bald Mexican guy? Now, I'm not here to be racist, okay? I grew up in Almonte, I love Mexican people. And I was like, Rick, that's a limiting belief. You really gotta give it a try. But he just, for some reason, he felt like he knew that that's something that he couldn't go do, is just start knocking on doors because he's Mexican over there. And he's bald and whatever, right? So I started asking, all right, so Rick, what assets are you working with? And he started going down the line. I have experience. I have a lot of construction background because I am an investor also. I've been in this business for so long. I'm Mexican. I was like, you're Mexican? He's like, okay, let me write that down too. One of my assets, I'm Mexican. Here's what you're working with, right? And I was like, what do you need in order to really have a strong foothold in that market in Beverly Hills? He said, and the conversation went back and forth, but after a while, we landed on, I need social proof. Once there's social proof, people start working with me, they like the work that I do, then I become more established in that community. Until then, I'm trying to get in. And so we started to ask the question, okay, do you have that asset yet? No, right? So you have all these assets right here, Rick. You have the experience, you're Mexican, construction, all these things. Do you have that social proof yet? No. Well, what can you do to start to get that social proof? Then we started to brainstorm on what are some assets that he had that can start to get him that social proof. Well, he's been a part of the Tony Robbins environment for a very long time. And he has a network of people that he knows through Tony Robbins. Some of them are in Beverly Hills. He couldn't just approach them and say, hey, let me sell your home. He knows nothing about the area. But what he was able to do was make use of his assets to say, hey, I can do construction projects for these people. They're rich, they want to remodel their homes. They want to build a surgery center. So he started working actually more on the construction side of things in Beverly Hills, using the assets that he already has to build an asset that he didn't have yet, which was social proof out there in Beverly Hills. Well, he's been doing that for 3 years now. And now he's in that marketplace as a construction guy, as a realtor. He's seen there more and more, and he's starting to have that social proof. And he just got his first listing in Beverly Hills. So, right? Is that realistic, Rick? No, it doesn't feel realistic to me at all. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I have all these obstacles. Then let's give some thought to what are the assets you already have. Maybe there's some assets that you're not using the right way yet that you really need to. When I first started my coaching practice on my own, I left Tony Robbins. I didn't have the asset of Tony Robbins' name anymore. I didn't have the asset of all the lead flow from his company. I didn't have any of that. And very quickly, I realized one of the assets that I needed to have was just, how do I talk to people? To say, okay, I'm a coach. People are like, coach, whatever. Where you like crystals and potions and lotions or something, So I needed to find a way to really establish I am not fluff. I I'm here to talk about real stuff that gets results. And so I realized one of the assets I needed to create, I didn't have it yet, was what are my success stories? I had a bunch of them, I just hadn't been using them. And so one of the first steps when I identified what are the assets that I'm missing was success stories. Then I started to create that. Then I started to create, how do I talk about this stuff? Then I started to realize, oh, I have a lot of testimonials, I'm not using them though. I don't have them posted anywhere. They're just on my computer somewhere. So I said, okay, let's make better use of that. Right, so the reason why I'm spending so much time on assets is because we don't normally think in terms of what are the assets that I need, the resources, the connections. We just think of, okay, here's my goal, what do I need to go achieve that goal? And then usually what happens when it doesn't feel realistic is we run into an asset problem. What are the assets that, does anyone in here know Jackie Chen? Yeah. Jackie Chan's, at least in his movies, right, he's an amazing fighter. He always gets into trouble, but he'll be like, oh, here's a phone, and he'll find a way to kick your butt with the phone. And he's like, here's a little ringing bell thing, and he'll find a way to turn that into a weapon. But it's assets. If he didn't have those assets around him, he's outnumbered by all these bad guys, but he's able to find assets everywhere he is to go use them to achieve what he wants. So after this session today, I see all of you looking at me, so I know that your minds are turning. I want to encourage you to come back to this worksheet and start to identify what are these assets that I have access to now. And as you're looking at them, ask yourself, am I really making best use of this asset that I have? I'm a really good public speaker. Am I public speaking enough? Right? I'm really good at baking cookies and hosting parties, and I'm really good at being a host. I'm thinking about my wife right now, right? Am I making best use of that asset right now, that talent in my business? Maybe not. So take a look at what are the assets that you already have, and start to ask yourself, if I'm going to achieve this dream, it's kind of realistic, really challenging, but how do I make it more winnable for myself? Is it time for me to hire that assistant, that marketing person? Is it time for me to get a coach? Is it time for me to invest and get some more knowledge? Is it time for me to visit more investment clubs around SoCal and deepen my network that way? You'll come up with the ideas, and here's why this is the perfect time to do it. It's November. Whose business is speeding up right now? Sorry? Santa Claus, exactly. This is the time, right, where business starts to slow down, cool off just a little bit. You're thinking about holidays, they're thinking about holidays, right? Things cool off for a little bit right now until January comes. And so the question is, when January comes, what do you want to have ready for yourself? You can be set up to really hit the ground running, or you can say, January starts, let's stretch, and then slowly see what happens, right? So 2019 starts now. And my wish for you all is to have a blistering start to 2019. So that come this time of the year again, 2019, you reflect, you can really look at yourself and say, wow, I'm proud of myself. I achieved some things I didn't think I was able to. And if you take this time, November, December, to develop some of these assets. See, what happens is, when the game is on, the heat of it, you have all these people that you need to talk to, it's hard to think assets. You gotta respond, you gotta go check the email, you gotta make sure that escrow is closing. You have all these plates to keep spinning in the air. But now that you have some space, this is really the time to upgrade some things in your business. I come from an immigrant family, and the thinking for us was always try to get by with as little as you need. You don't need assets, you need more hard work. But when it comes to our business though, if we want our business to love us, we need to love our business and really take the time to upgrade it. And so that's my encouragement for you all. Thank you for giving me your time. Please take a look at how you can upgrade your